This is a summary and analysis of Paul's case. Paul's case, written by Willa Cather in 1905, revolves mainly around the protagonist, Paul, who is a peculiar teenager who fails to get along with his given environment. Paul works as an usher in Carnegie Hall and looks up to the arts and luxury and scorns his middle-class life. He lies about his life and avoids reality. This leads him to getting fired and kicked out of school, and he heads to New York with the money he stole from his job and enjoys the luxurious life he dreamt of. However, after his death was published in the news and he found out his father was after him, he decides to end his life by throwing himself into a train. Paul is seen as a problematic teenager who is obsessed about wealth and art. He doesn't act normal. The difference and unfitting of Paul is continuously highlighted throughout the story. First, appearance. Seeing the first quote, the author describes in detail his outfit. The clothes he's wearing are unfit and worn, which signifies and foreshadows Paul being a character with flaws and is an outsider. The accessories Paul wears, opal pin, red carnation, shows his admiration for luxury and fancy fashion, which does not suit the school and differentiates him. It seems as if he was mimicking the fancy looks of the people he sees working as an usher. The physical appearance also suggests that he's not athletic, perhaps have been sick before, and his physical traits also do not line up with masculinity. Overall, he looks very weak and his eyes are abnormal, as if he's drunk and addicted. In this case, Paul is deeply in love with art and continues to dream about it. So what is wrong with Paul? He is paranoid and may have the Ripley syndrome. Paul is seen to continuously lie about his life in the way he wishes it would be like. Along with being happy with the instant attention he receives when lying, he later worries about covering it. The cycle of being proud of the way he seems to be presented as and facing reality continues. The main reasoning behind these symptoms of Paul is his scorn for middle-class life. Paul is beyond not liking his neighborhood and his life. He hates and even feels anger towards it. Willa writes vivid details of his life with sensory imagery, and the readers can draw in mind an unaesthetic, unbalanced house with a bad smell, which significantly contrasts to the ideal life Paul dreams of. His hatred is even aimed towards people around him, as the descriptions of his father and teachers are the complete opposite of the people he admires. In simple terms, Paul fills his reality. Art is seen artificial, as mentioned before, like an addictive drug. It seems attractive, and Paul is immersed in it multiple times and imagines having more of it, fully into the scene of art. Seeing the first quote, even so excessively that he can't resist himself. However, Paul never fully understands the music and art, and this fact is enunciated clearly by the narrator multiple times. Music simply brings him short breezes of happiness, and Paul tries to reach more and more often, addicted to the pleasure it gives. It is also used as a quick, easy escape from Paul's miserable middle-class life he scorns and achieves happiness. This light gratification Paul enjoys doesn't last long, and soon he realizes that what he ultimately wants is wealth, which can bring him beyond art and more of his dreams into reality. Before going deeper with this theme, we should keep in mind that Paul is not poor. He is middle class, but his priorities are appearances and luxuries, not practicality. Paul is only obsessed about how others view the wealthy, like how teenagers these days look up to rich influencers and their images in social media. Willa uses color to represent wealth. For example, she uses purple as a symbol of wealth with power, which Paul envies. However, again, as the quote states, what Paul is attracted to is how himself, with the appearance of color purple, looks to others. These desires that Paul expects from wealth leads to his idealization of working at a theater. Like the stage is fake, Paul's idealization is also fake as well. Wealth is the essential need for Paul's lies and admiration to fulfill, and the truth is, everyone is working hard with their difficulties. Paul is not interested in working hard for money. He just looks up to the adventures and enjoying art, which requires wealth, a huge obstacle for Paul to fulfill his dreams. He has no interest in the cash boy stage, expects immediate money in his hands, misunderstanding the concept of money and how it cannot solve all of his problems. This leads to Paul justifying stealing money in part 2 and not hesitating spending the money for his luxury. His poor understanding of wealth leads to his end, and even at the last moment, the only regret he has is not being able to fully experience the adventures and dreams that require wealth. The writer hints multiple times about Paul's homosexuality. It is related to his unusual behaviors for a male teenager, and his appearance lacks masculinity. He desires modern music and appreciates fancy fashion. His relationship with other male also implies Paul's sexual actions as well. The red carnation relates to Paul being placed oddly and suspicious, left out, but also aesthetically pleasing in general. It symbolizes Paul and his fanciful dreams. As Paul loses his dreams and returns to reality, heading to the station to suicide, the red carnation becomes drippy, just like Paul. The red carnation also connects to homosexuality. Oscar Wilde, who was jailed for homosexual acts, popularized wearing a green carnation as a gay symbol.